How's it going, everyone? It's Harvey from Weather Spawn Drive 1000. Today is Christmas Day 2021, as I hope all of you guys are enjoying your Christmas or your holiday season. As today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of snowstorms that should move through the United States and bring potentially well over a foot of snow in many areas in the United States, and we'll take a look in more detail of which exact location should receive the most snowfall in each region of the United States. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video, and make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. So first, let's take a look at the radar for the entire lower 48 of the United States. And if we were to take a look at the west coast, we do have some snow showers just to the east of Seattle and Portland at this time. However, there is a possibility that you could receive accumulating snowfall tonight throughout Seattle and Portland for a white Christmas right around those areas, where the lower elevations should get involved in some snowfall, which isn't something you typically see every day, especially exactly on Christmas Day. But you guys are bound to experience snowfall tonight, as it seems like the temperatures in the lower elevated areas will be cold enough to support accumulating snowfall to occur. And even if you were to move further southward, we do see a couple of snow showers throughout the higher elevations of Northern California. Just to the east of Sacramento, we're seeing a couple of snow showers, and we're seeing heavy rain right around San Jose and just to the east of Sacramento, as we're seeing a pretty powerful low pressure system finally coming on shore along the California coast, and this should move further westward, and it could lead to maybe not only a major snowstorm for a lot of the Rocky Mountain ranges and the west coast, but it could lead to our next major snowstorm for the Midwest and potentially the Northeast in the future. But if we were to take a look further eastward, we do have a couple of snow showers right around the upper Midwest at this time. However, it shouldn't dump a lot of snow, as there just isn't enough unstable air to support just a lot of convection for heavy snow to occur. But it should at least dump maybe around an inch of snow in some areas, which should make it a white Christmas for you guys. So if you're into, let's say, a white Christmas or into snowfall, there's definitely the time to enjoy it in the upper Midwest. And if we were to take a look further eastward, you see that most of the Northeast is the temperatures in the Northeast are mostly too warm to support some snowfall, but we're seeing some snowfall right around Maine and the extreme northern portions of Vermont, but it isn't enough to really dump any sort of major snowfall, as again there just isn't enough convection or unstable air for a major snowstorm to occur associated with this low pressure system. But if we were to continue to move forward, that could change, as we are expecting a major snowstorm to move through the Midwest and the Northeast later this week, and it should pretty much originate from this atmospheric river that's streaming a lot of troughs along the coast of California as well as the Pacific Northwest, and that could lead to our next snowstorm. So if you're continuing to move forward, you see that this trough sort of dissolves right around the upper Midwest, as again, like I said, look at the jet stream, it's pretty straightened out, so the warm air isn't interacting with the cold air for a lot of lift or convection to occur for a powerful snowstorm to occur. But that should change, as we do see that associated with this atmospheric river, we should see a low pressure originate right around the Rocky Mountain ranges, and with it is a lot of cold air on the backside, and that should force a lot of that warmer Gulf of Mexico air mass further northward, which is very moist and humid in this area as a result of a strong southwesterly flow associated with this ridge that's located right around Florida, and of course this low pressure system. And it should steer a lot of that water vapor further northward to where the relative humidities will be high in the northern United States to support a heavy snowstorm. As you can see, it's quite powerful as it moves through the Rockies. Its millibar pressure is hovering right around 990, which isn't extremely intense, but it is enough to dump heavy snow in certain locations in the Midwest, because you see that the snow area becomes quite large. We do see just enough unstable air and just enough of a relative humidity for a heavy snowstorm to occur throughout the northern Midwest. This is impacting North Dakota, Minnesota, the northern portion of Wisconsin especially, and the northern portion of Michigan. But it becomes interesting as we head further eastward as well, because we do see a little bit of heavy snow right around Pennsylvania and the western portion of upstate New York. And we even see the snowfall approach New Jersey right around Monday, December 27th. So there is that possibility that in the Northeast you could receive some accumulating snowfall, and maybe in New York City and Philadelphia, there is that possibility you could receive some snow falling out of the sky. While the current forecast is that no snowfall accumulation is expected for New York City and Philadelphia, we can't rule out the possibility, especially if there is a little bit more cold air than originally anticipated by the computer model. So we need to keep a close eye on that. But it's pretty much inevitable that the northern Midwest will experience a major snowstorm out of this, and it should begin right around late Sunday into early Monday. So if you're planning to travel those days right around Sunday to Monday, which I know a lot of people typically during the holidays love to travel a lot, you might want to reconsider your plans depending on how powerful this snowstorm is, because we're expecting a very heavy snow throughout the northern Midwest right around the Monday time frame. So if you're planning to travel on Monday, you might want to at least delay your plans, because it could be dangerous driving out on the roads where you could potentially receive close to a foot of snow associated with this first snowstorm. Now, if we were to take a look at the forecast for this first snowstorm moving through, we're going to take, and of course in the West Coast, you're seeing heavy snow throughout the higher elevations. And if we were to take a look at the Pacific Northwest as well, this low pressure system will dump snow in the lower elevations, because you see that the snow is impacting Portland at this time, as there's just a lot of cold air. The air is so cold that it's able to offset the how warm the sea surface temperatures are along the Pacific coast, which really shows the magnitude of how cold the air is to support some snow in the higher elevations. Because typically the reason why the coastal regions and especially the lower elevated coastal regions of the Pacific don't receive a lot of snowfall for the most part is because the Pacific, because of course, since the winds move from west to easterly direction, the winds move directly off the Pacific Ocean, and the Pacific Ocean is typically a lot warmer than the freezing point. It's typically still in the 50s to 60s for most of the year along the Pacific, as a result of current that brings Alaskan water further southward. So it's very rare for snow to occur unless the air temperature is very cold. But it's going to be one of those instances where we're going to see Seattle and Portland receive potentially up to 1 to 3 inches of snow. And of course, we should see that snow head further westward, or Salt Lake City will get involved, the Rocky Mountains, and potentially Wyoming and Montana should get involved in heavy snowfall. But let's take a look at the snowfall forecast over the next several days to see how much snow you guys should expect. So if we were to continue to move forward, you see that with this first snowstorm, the forecast is a good area of 6 to 12 inches. We're even seeing above a foot right in a small portion of North Dakota and close to the Great Lakes. They're receiving close to, if not over a foot. So you're seeing a large area of 3 to 6 inches of snow, which is considered major. And right around Portland, you're receiving right around potentially 3 to 6 inches, and for Seattle as well. And if we were to take a look at the Northeast, you're seeing a good area of 3 to 6 inches as well. Right around Pennsylvania and the southern portion of upstate New York. And we're even seeing a little bit of dusting closer to New Jersey and Philadelphia and New Hampshire, and Vermont is receiving around 3 to 6 inches. So, and the European model agrees with this forecast for the most part, where they're both taking right around 3 to 6 inches extending through, 6 to 12 inches extending through northern Midwest, and we're still seeing heavy snow along the West Coast, and it's taking heavier snowfall right around New Hampshire, and it's very, very similar, the forecast. So there's high confidence regarding the snowfall forecast for each of the locations, at least within the next 4 days, where you could receive 6 to 12 in the northern Midwest, 3 to 6 right around northern Pennsylvania and southern upstate New York, and then around 3 to 6 in New Hampshire and the southern portion of Maine. So there's high confidence, which is definitely good news, because it gives us more certainty of how to prepare for these snowstorms. So I'd say for the northern Midwest and the areas in the Northeast that will experience snowfall, you should prepare now, because it's pretty certain that you guys will experience a major snowstorm. What will determine exactly What could change the forecast potentially is how much cold air there will be in the Northeast, because if there's a little bit more cold air and if there's a little bit more moisture, of course, the snow would be a little bit, we would see a little bit more snowfall accumulation. And that really all depends on how significant the jet stream dip is associated with this low pressure system, because that will pretty much determine the amount of unstable air and as a result the amount of convection there will be in the United States for this next snowstorm. And that's definitely something we need to pay close attention to, but it's pretty certain that you guys will experience at least 6 to 12 inches in the northern Midwest. So I'd say prepare in those locations. However, beyond the 3 to 4 day mark, there's another snowstorm we need to keep in mind, which of course we always need to keep in mind along the West Coast, because we're going to see a continuous stream of low pressure systems move up and along the West Coast. But if we were to continue to move forward, if we were to take a look on what happens in the backside of this low pressure system, we see another low pressure system come off the California coastline, and this is the same low pressure system that will dump at least 1 to 3 inches of snow right around Seattle and Portland. But it's gonna bring a lot, as you know, this low pressure system is associated with a lot of cold air, and you could tell because it's gonna bring snow to Seattle and Portland, which are areas that typically don't receive accumulating snowfall as a result of their lower elevation and their close proximity to the Pacific Ocean, which typically warms up the temperature enough for accumulating snowfall not to occur. But the air temperature is going to be so cold associated with this low pressure system that it could induce a little bit of an unstable environment. So maybe even severe weather maybe could occur on the southern side of this low pressure system. But you see another snowstorm begins to form, and it brings heavy snow throughout Wisconsin, a little bit of snow through Minnesota, as there's going to be just enough instability and convection, and we do see a little bit of snow in the Northeast. Now this becomes a little bit more uncertain because we need to know how much unstable air there will be to see how powerful the low pressure system will be. The European model is expecting this low pressure system to weaken as it heads further westward, but if we were to continue to move forward with the forecast, you see that it does bring a decent amount of snow to the Northeast, such as northern Pennsylvania and upstate New York. But it really all depends on how significant this jet stream dip will be. The GFS and European model are both in pretty good agreement that we're going to see a snowstorm. The question remains how much snow will you receive in the Midwest and the Northeast as this low pressure system heads further eastward, which is a little bit uncertain, but we need to keep a close eye on really how much cold air there will be behind this low pressure system and how strong this northwesterly flow will be, because that will determine how much of an unstable air mass there will be in the Midwest to really determine how powerful this snowstorm will be. So that's something we need to keep in mind. And of course, the higher elevations of California will receive snow, and even as far south as Arizona and New Mexico, you could receive some snow showers. So that's something you want to keep in mind. And we will continue to see a continuous stream of low pressure system moving along the Pacific Northwest coast, which is definitely something we need to pay very close attention to within the next several days. And even after this low pressure system, we have a couple more. We have this one that'll dump snow in Arizona, this one that'll dump a decent amount of snow in the higher elevations of California, but this third one that should come right around next week, right around the new year of 2022, it could be a little bit more major. But we need to keep in mind and see if this forecast holds up, because again, I'm going right around 6 days out, so there's a lot of uncertainty regarding that snowstorm. But pretty much throughout the northern Midwest and the Northeast, you need to prepare for major snowstorms moving through the area, and especially the West Coast and the higher elevations. And even in the lower elevated areas such as Seattle and Portland, you need to keep in mind of accumulating snowfall over the next week, because we should see a lot of snowfall throughout the United States for this holiday week. Next, let's take a look at my forecast regarding the amount of snowfall accumulation you should expect over the next 5 days throughout the United States. And you see that I'm expecting right around 6 to 12 inches in the northern Midwest, as I do believe that this next snowstorm that should move right around the Sunday to Monday timeframe will dump a heavy amount of snow that could dump maybe potentially up to a foot of snow, and that could be significant. So make sure to prepare in those areas. There's high certainty with that forecast, so make sure to prepare in the northern Midwest. And I'm expecting 3 to 6 inches throughout northern Pennsylvania, the southern portion of upstate New York, and we're seeing 3 to 6 inches in southern Maine, extending to New Hampshire as well as Vermont as well, where you could receive 3 to 6 inches associated with this next snowstorm. So prepare in those areas as well, because 3 to 6 inches is still considered major. And of course, I'm expecting potentially up to 9 feet of snow over the next 5 days in the higher elevations of California. And it should be a cumulative amount of snow that should accumulate over several snowstorms moving through, but still 9 feet of snow over 5 days, and that's still extremely significant. So you need to make sure to prepare if you're in the higher elevations of California, and get those shovels ready. And throughout the higher elevations of Rockies, you should expect right around a foot to maybe potentially over a foot, maybe around Yellowstone National Park. And the higher elevations in Colorado should expect it. And of course, the Cascades should expect right around 12 to 24 inches of snow, and potentially 3 to 6 inches of snow right around Seattle and Portland as well. So that's something you want to keep in mind over the next week throughout the United States for major snowstorms moving through this holiday week. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it for this video. I thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas, and make sure to subscribe if you like more weather-related content. And I hope you guys all have a great day and a great holiday season, as I hope you guys enjoy it.